Welcome back everybody to Forza Horizon 5, and today we're taking a look at the 2022 Ford Focus ST. So this is part of the fourth and potentially last generation of the Ford Focus, as Ford of Europe has announced that this is ending production in 2025. It's already ceased production in the likes of the United States, but production of this has been around since 2018. This version was unveiled in 2019, and this is part of the refreshed version of the car in terms of the looks that it got in 2022. So with this being the ST version, you have visual upgrades. It's got a revised grille, new alloy wheels that can be either 18 or 19 inches in size, larger rear spoiler and twin exhausts. Mechanically speaking though, it's got an electronic limited slip differential, a 6-speed manual gearbox and an anti-lag system, because as per usual with a hot hatchback from these days, it's got a pretty potent engine with a turbocharger. So it's a 2.3 litre turbocharged inline 4 engine producing 276 horsepower and 310 pounds-feet of torque, which is quite substantial. Granted, that is about 12 less horsepower than a Volkswagen Golf R, but it's got 30 extra pounds-feet of torque, while it actually weighs less than that vehicle as well. It's also got 5 extra horsepower over the likes of a Hyundai i30N, and a good 30 or so pounds-feet of torque more as well. So yeah, it's pretty potent in terms of its engine, although unlike the Golf it does only have front-wheel drive. But because of that electronic limited slip differential, that power is kept in check. And yeah, interior space is pretty good as well, as you can see. Really nice looking interior, as Fords of late have really rather been. A little bit bland in terms of it being all black pretty much, but still everything is there that you'd expect on a modern hot hatchback. Plenty of rear legroom as well, so it's as practical as you could ever ask for, and especially when it comes to the boot space, which, yeah, a lot of Focus vehicles have always been like that, and the more potent versions have always been pretty practical as well. And there's the driver's side as well. So yeah, nice thick steering wheel. You got your gear stick there, and then you got your screens, and you got loads of buttons on the steering wheel. So yeah, it's all well sorted in terms of equipment and space, and you know, interior trim and all of that stuff. I really do like the look of it as well. It's not my favourite looking Focus ever, but it's still a pretty good looking one, and yeah, it certainly stands out from the crowd, especially in comparison to, say, a Golf or a Hyundai. And yeah, I do like the amount of power that it's got going on. It doesn't even weigh all that much either, at 3,168 pounds. It's only about 18 pounds more than an i30N, and a good nearly 200 or so pounds lighter than a Volkswagen Golf, although again that does have all-wheel drive, which is the main reason why that car is as quick as it is in terms of acceleration. But nonetheless, let's get out onto the open road and see what this car can do. Right, so here we are at the drag strip, so let's see what this car can do before we hit the speed camera, and then we'll get it around the track. So yeah, with a pretty decent amount of power and that anti-lag system on the go, it's pretty potent in terms of acceleration. And the way it's geared is really nicely as well, as yeah, the second gear gets you up to more than 60 mile an hour, and then you've got pretty decent gearing after that, which makes the most of the power. So they're 123 mile an hour nearly there, which is pretty damn good, to be honest. Now granted, the Golf R is quicker to 60. It's got a little bit extra power, and the all-wheel drive system helps keep all of that power and torque in check. But as we get past 60, this does gain time, and therefore is actually quicker to 100. And this does have a marginally higher top speed. And yeah, acceleration wise, in comparison to, say, the Hyundai i30N, which is comparable in terms of, you know, horsepower and general size, this is actually about the Hyundai and this are pretty much the same in terms of 0 to 60 time. But again, this is better in terms of 0 to 100, and that Hyundai can't even do 150. So yeah, this is quicker than both of those in most respects. And we're actually in A class, which isn't particularly common for a car of this type, as we'll look at now. The only other ones that are as high as this are the likes of the Mini John Cooper Works GP, which has a lot of power and even more than torque than we do, and a lot less in the way of weight, although I would say that's probably a lot harsher to drive everyday basis. And obviously it doesn't have 4 doors. Then you got the Mercedes-Benz A-Class, very expensive but also very powerful, and yeah, also has more torque than we do. Then the Honda Civic Type R, again a lot of power, more power than we do, but also less in the way of torque, and it's not that much lighter, while I think the looks are a little bit more iffy. And then we've got the original Ford Focus RS from 7 years ago now. Obviously this isn't an RS version, it's the ST, which is more the midline level in terms of trim, but as you can see it does have more power, more torque, but it also weighs a lot more as well. So not sure if there is ever going to be an RS version of this car, but there's the stats for you nonetheless, which are pretty good on the whole, to be honest. Obviously they're nowhere near as good as, say, the Mini, which is a proper track going car, to be honest, but yeah, overall fairly solid in terms of its stats, and yeah, it's a really rather fun car to drive overall, to be honest. Always been a fan of hot hatchbacks, and Ford have done several of the best ones out there, so it is a real shame that this is getting consigned to the dustbin of history, to be honest. I would have thought in Europe at the very least that this would have continued, but unfortunately that's not going to be the case. But nonetheless, let's hear what this car sounds like, and then we'll talk about it some more. So yeah, fairly good sounding engine on this car, although I would say when it's below around 5,000 RPM it's not the nicest sounding engine, but the more you rev it the better it gets. And yeah, it's got really good turning as well. You really don't feel like you've got, you know, nearly 280 horsepower tugging at the front wheels there. It really does turn in rather nicely. There's not a huge amount of understeer. There is some oversteer at times if you are, you know, lifting off or you're turning in a bit too heavy, but it's all manageable at the end of the day, which means that it's ultimately a very fun car to drive, and it's a pretty quick one as well. 0 to 16, 5.616 seconds, 0 to 112.617 seconds, and it will go into a top speed of 167 miles an hour, which, despite that Golf R having more power than we do, 12 extra horsepower in fact, it's, yeah, that's 6 miles an hour slower than this. Not sure why, maybe it's all-wheel drive system or the aerodynamics, but yeah, the fact that this is nearly nudging 170 is really impressive. And yeah, obviously it's not the lightest of cars, but it doesn't really feel its weight. It hides it a lot and hides it really well at the same time. So yeah, I'm mightily impressed by this car, and again, like I said earlier, it's a real shame that they are discontinuing the Focus. You're also discontinuing the Fiesta as well, by the way, because apparently Ford only wants to make 3 kinds of vehicles: pickups, SUVs/crossovers, and the Mustang. Everything else is pretty much, yeah, falling by the wayside. Saloons, hatchbacks, and such. So yeah, which is a great shame, because the Focus as well as the Fiesta have been like a landscape, a part of the landscape in the UK. You know, the Focus has been around for more than 20 years now, and yeah, it's sold so many cars. Been one of the best-selling cars year on year, and yeah, it's just a real shame that it's going away, because these hot versions have been great, but even the base versions have had plenty going for them, and yeah, to discontinue them is a great shame. Maybe they'll come back in electric form, who knows, but yeah, it's just a shame that the name is going away, and even more of a shame that, you know, the base version isn't going to get any hot versions like this anymore. So yeah, but still, it's a fantastic car. You can get it out there on the festival playlist for only 20 points. It's well worth getting, especially if you are into your hot hatchbacks like I am. And yeah, I'm sure you'll have plenty of fun driving it. Nonetheless, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.